you like a rock group?
And then that way, right in the shot right now.
John, can you start with this? Mr. Plummer, just please. Guys, can you start here, please? This side? And John over here? Sorry? Okay. John, this side? John, here, please. John, here. Abigail, again, please. Again. Abigail? Abigail? John, here, please. Abigail, right here, please. And John. Christopher, again. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I want to thank Toronto for raising me to love movies.
Everyone has a big imagination. All of us do.
This is exciting. My first film to premiere here at the Toronto Film Festival. It's an exciting night.
You are the most globally exciting festival in the world.
Hello and welcome to the press conference for The Forger. A few notes before we begin. This press conference will be streamed live at www.tiff.net, and still photographs will be made available on the TIFF media site. Volunteers with microphones are in the room to assist you with your questions. Please remember to identify yourself and your media outlet. Please also note that no photography is permitted during this press conference. Only the pre-approved wire services may take photographs, and we ask that you do so from behind the first row. If you could also turn your cell phones to silent. Our moderator for today is Henri Béhar, and it is now my pleasure to welcome the director and cast for The Forger.
Okay, hello everyone and welcome to the press conference for The Forger. You all have seen the film, but for the benefit of those who are watching us on their screen, be it television, iPhone, iPads or computer, I will try and sum it up as fast as I can. It's a film about family and a dysfunctional one at that, but over 3 generations. When this young man at my left is diagnosed with cancer. His father, a thief and forger extraordinaire who's in jail, played by the gentleman sitting next to him, accept a crooked deal with a very, very nasty drug dealer in order to get out of jail 10 months ahead of time. In so doing, he hooks up with his son, but also with his prior and ornery father, who possibly taught him everything he knew. It is a dysfunctional family over 3 generations, and perhaps the rapport that is the least dysfunctional in the film is the one that the father has with with an agent who is trying to arrest the drug dealer who has cornered father. Whew. Okay, that done. Introducing the people who are here at this panel. At the far end, as Agent Catherine Paisley, Mr. Abigail Spencer, I'll make it short. Yes, she's the lady from Mad Men. Sitting next to her as Will Cutter, Ty Sheridan. He was the kid in Terrence Malick's Tree of Life and the kid in Jeff Nichols' Mud. Welcome. Sitting next to him, his father, Ray Cutter, John Travolta, who is simply John Travolta. And sitting next to him is Joseph Cutter, Christopher Plummer, who in our book, in our film goers book and theater goers book, is Sir Christopher Plummer. Yes. And sitting next to me, a gentleman who put it all together, the director, Philip Martin. And the first question will be addressed to actually you, perhaps, Mr. Martin, and the cast. Who came first? Did you write the script and then present it to the actors and their agents or did they come to you with this kind of project?
I read the script and loved it, and loved the dynamic of the crime story against the family story that you've just talked about. And then I sent it to John, and John read it and loved it and came on board. And then Ty and Chris followed shortly after. And once we had the three of them together, it felt we had a family.
So obviously you're the first person who said yes, John. Why?
Well, I felt that it was unique, a story. I felt that the characters had one similarity, that none of them felt sorry for themselves at all, and tried in a very unconventional, stoic way to spare each other the suffering. And I kind of liked that. It never invited you to feel anything, forced about them. And I like the complexity of my character being a savant, kind of failed painter that really was suffering from that, but now had this opportunity to bail himself out to have a real meaningful relationship with his son by doing the very thing that he got in trouble with, which was forging paintings, masterpieces. And I liked all of that. It was multi-layered. I had never seen that before in a movie, and I'd never seen these kinds of characters before. So that's a lot of the reason. And there's many more, but it's everyone saw the movie, right?
Here, yes.
Here, yeah, okay. So now we all know what we're all talking about. But I felt it was a unique film, and even though it's described as a heist film, it's really not. It's a film about a grandfather, a father, and a son, and their relationship, and the backdrop is the heist, and this Monet.
Mr. Plummer,
Yes.
why did you say yes to
Well,
the project when it was offered to you?
Yes, well, first of all, the story touched me very much, and it was very funny as well. So it had both comic and tragic reliefs. I agree with John that particularly Ty Sheridan's role of a dying son, and the remarkable thing is that even though it was written in a tough manner, without self-pity, Ty's performance is just quite extraordinary, because he is never for 1 second sorry for himself. It's a very brave performance, and I think it's just marvelous. I won't talk about John, of course, because everybody knows that he's a very brave and marvelous actor. So that's enough about him. But the child has a.
Don't forget, he was the one who encouraged me to take my painting, to the criminal world. So.
That's right. No, and I love the old character, too. I love the fact he was an old bog Irish drunk. And when the moment comes to save his son or his grandson, he rises to the occasion. I love the whole feel of it.
Ty?
Yeah, I felt very connected to the father and sons in the story and their dynamic relationship. But yeah, I feel like a lot of the films I've done have been, boils down to a father and son story, and this is something that really spoke to me. And when I heard that John was attached as a father, and I read the script and saw this as a huge opportunity to take on a character that was not from the South, from Boston, and so I could do I was like, oh my God, I can do a different accent, and I think the story really spoke to me, and I was immediately drawn to these characters and the story itself.
Now, the one character who's with us today is that of the agent, and if I may say so mercifully, there's no love story between the agent and the father, not to mention the grandfather.
Well, that's for the sequel.
Okay.
Yeah, it was great. Well, first of all, I thought it might have been a mistake when they called me. I was like, who thought of me for this? It's a little outside the realm of what I've gotten to do. So that was really exciting. And when Philip and I talked, the first thing I was like, I don't want to play a pretty cop. Like, I don't want to play a glamorous cop. And he was like, no, you know, I've got all these ideas, and that's you. That's me doing you. And it was really great. He was really true to the actual, like, who a cop actually is, and he sent me on ride-alongs in Boston, and I went undercover with the Boston PD and kind of fell in love with them. Like, I learned how to profile. I'm looking at all of you right now. And I just, yeah, I arrested someone. I did, I actually, and they wanted me to handcuff him, and I'm like, I don't know if it goes wrong. I just don't think I want to be responsible for that. But I just love that it was about a strong female woman that had one mission. And there wasn't anything else. It was very clear. And I so love all of you guys. I love these actors so much. So just the opportunity to get to play with them and do something out of the realm was so exciting, and also something that was at its true heart a family story. It touched me.
Now, your character is, the rapport between the character that you play and the character that John Travolta plays is based on trust. Now, at which point in the script, when you're reading the script, did you just go, this is the moment where she actually trusts him?
You know, there's this great scene with them in the park where she's out for a run, and he shows up out of nowhere, and she becomes very unguarded in that moment. And there was an exchange, I feel, that they were totally, she didn't have anything on her. He was kind of following her, but there was a kindness that was exchanged in that scene where I really felt that I wanted to help him, that I knew he wasn't a bad guy. And they talk a lot about that in the police department, of bad guys and not bad guys. So there's this moment where she's like, he's not a bad guy. And I think things shift from there. And then he shows up later and kind of gets me in a sticky situation. So.
There's a question. Who has the mic here? Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Swati Sharan. I'm from Minority Review, and I have two questions, I guess, for John and Ty here. And I guess my question here for John is, did you when you were preparing for the role, did you kind of go and attend other support groups or talk to people who are parents of kids who had cancer, and Ty, did you also I guess attend support groups just to see what this was about,
Yeah, well, there was talk about that during the rehearsal period, and I think John, someone asked John and I, do you guys want to go to a cancer center and talk to some kids, and maybe that'd help you get a grasp on your role. And I really thought about it for a sec, and I don't know, I just didn't want to show up to a cancer center and say, hey guys, I'm an actor, I'm pretending that I have cancer. And I just didn't want to insult them, and also I'd never talked to anyone with cancer before, and I didn't know what do you talk about? What do you say? You obviously, do you say, how are you doing? Well, you can't say that because they're in the hospital, and so it was all of those things were running through my mind, and then also I started thinking, for my character, it's new information for him. It's a new thing to be diagnosed with a brain tumor, and I just kind of wanted to play that and almost use that as something that's pent up inside of him, and reserve that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, excellent. And for me, my age, there's experienced so much tragedy in my life that I needn't have explored any more. I was actually more concerned about the authenticity of my doing the painting. So I went to Hong Kong and studied with an instructor there, and another one in the US, and then I spoke to FORGER, flew to France and spoke to a FORGER there, and a FORGER in the United States. And between those four sources, I felt like I was able to get enough reality of that. Also, my grandfather was a painter, my dad painted. I studied a little bit of watercolors years ago. I liked Edward Hopper Moreau and Calder, and those were kind of artists that I liked. And so I have an affinity for painting, but I mostly needed to feel like what it would be under the gun to paint. And so I started my own Monet, Lady with the Parasol, at the beginning of the film during rehearsal, and I took the whole film to finish it.
Where is it now?
It's in my cell phone, if you want to see it. I framed it. I'm very proud of it. But mostly it was to feel what the pressure would be like, because I have 2 lives at stake that and to pay back a debt with this. So I just needed enough of a taste of the pressure to feel what it would be like. So that was, I was more concerned. The tragedy is something that I'm very familiar with, so I did not need to research that, but the painting I felt I did need to do.
Question here, then over there. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Bruce Kirkland from the Toronto Sun Media. This is a question that was inspired by something Sir Christopher said a little earlier, and that's when he was referring to this young man, Ty Sheridan, who, of course, has astounded us in both The Tree of Life and Mud. And I'm seeing these generations sitting in front of me doing roles together in this film that's very character-driven and not heist-driven, as has been pointed out. That's hard to say. So I'm curious for someone to talk about the intergenerational dynamic, especially since we see Mr. Plummer talk about Ty Sheridan's performance. I'd be curious to see what people learn from each other in this dynamic.
Well, I learned one thing immediately, that to stay away from this kind of talent. I don't want to have anything to do with it. Young actors today are so much better than they used to be. I remember seeing those films. Remember Gone with the Wind? When the little child was just about, you're totally engrossed in the moment, and the little child is to ride the horse. Mommy, can I ride the horse now? And then you knew that she was immediately sent off to school, while actors waited for hours until her return. Now it's slightly different. They've been trained they've done television commercials since they were 1. I mean, and they come onto the screen now with such conviction and such talented performers now. They really have improved enormously, and I don't want to have anything to do with them.
I think that when you are fortunate enough to work with great talent, you automatically are better. Yes. And you can, I find, respond in the moment. My mother taught acting, and she was of the era of sort of the existentialist. You respond to what's happening at the moment, and only that. And you can better do that with great actors. And when Christopher yelled at me, I cried easily because I really felt the power of his reality. And when my son cries in my arms, I felt the power of his reality. And this makes acting effortless. And everyone's game gets to a new level. And you need a director like Philip to monitor this and allow you to have this reality without squelching it, because directors are an interesting group, and the great ones allow this interaction of reality to happen, and that's where you get the most unique moments. And that's how I felt in this movie. We were all in good hands, and we were all taking care of each other and just becoming our own characters for each other, and full-bodiedly, not missing a note or not always telling the truth.
Just to segue on your answer, John, it reminds me of what Robert Altman used to say. 90% of my job as a director is get the right cast together, and 5% is getting out of the way.
Yes, I completely agree.
Was that the attitude you had?
Absolutely. I think everyone here responds to being given freedom, and in a way and trust. And so much of acting is managing fear in some ways, and if the fear to experiment or to be free is removed, then I think people can do, people can explore the characters that they need to. And that scene in the garden that John was talking about between Joseph and Ray, that's a great moment where suddenly in that explosive encounter between Christopher's character and John's character suddenly gets younger, and you can see all the years disappear, and you see the young child being shouted at by a father all those years ago. You can feel the history of the tension of their relationship, and that just came from exploring something on the day, in the moment, trying an idea out, and running with it. So it's definitely the case. Yeah.
And the gravity of Christopher Plummer's, the gravity of his presence in acting is so strong that it has an impingement, and when that particular scene happened, I was truly impinged. I was not acting, I was actually responding to what I felt at the moment, and I felt like I was being reprimanded as though I were 12. And then my son is watching me get reprimanded, which is even more embarrassing, So it's just great when reality sets in at that magnitude, and only the great ones can do that.
And it's great to hear Chris swear as well, because he does it really well. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I was asked to do ADR, which is sort of, you dub your voice into lines that can't be heard, and you do it in a studio, and Philip sent me the lines that I had to do, and they were all my famous F word, 4 letters, and I discovered, I said, is that all that I have to do? He said, yeah, it's for the airplanes. They don't want to play anything like that. And I counted them. There must have been 80 FUs in there. Amazing. And without them, of course, I have no character at all. So anybody who's watching it on a plane, turn to something else.
Question over here.
Hello, I'm Garcia from Mexico. If you were allowed to, it's to the cast and to the director, if you were allowed to steal a piece of art at this time, which one would you choose and why?
Gosh. Well, I wouldn't want to steal anybody's art. So it's a very particular question. Now, if you're giving me a gift, that's a whole other thing. What if I gifted you a piece of art? Which piece of art would you accept? Turner. Okay, what would you accept?
I don't know anything about art.
I wish I did. Edward Hopper painting, any one of them would be absolutely fine with me.
Abigail?
I'm really into Rocher right now, Ed Rocher, so yeah. Anything.
Okay.
But I'm not going to steal it.
No.
Questions in the audience? Okay. Yes, question here.
Question for Mr. Travolta. I can remember sitting with you at the Cannes Film Festival for Pulp Fiction, and you were only half joking that was your 4th or 5th career revival. And I'm curious now, with the excitement that people have over your performance in this film, what number are we up to, and is it now a source of amusement to you to see these ebbs and flows?
I just view myself as some sort of athlete that, each season has variation of comebacks, I don't know at this point, someone said to me in an interview the other day, you've done so many films, do you still have to do films? I said, well, I want something to do. I said, please, do I have to give up? So I just feel fortunate that I can be discerning and choose the better ones because of the evolution of things, I feel very fortunate, and that's a gift. And if Hollywood gave me one gift, it was that at my age I'm able to be discerning and do things that really inspire and excite me, and not if I don't want to, So it's does that answer the question? Okay, good.
Can I say that John's energy on set is totally infectious. I mean, I learned so much just being around you of who I want to be when I'm working and how I want to be with other people. I mean, we had a lot of outdoor scenes together, and people would just line up around the block to say hello or just speak out his name, and you gave everyone a moment of your time. I mean, he is one of the most generous humans and actors, so it's quite infectious. And thank you.
Very much. Thank you.
Question here, and I'm afraid this is going to, okay, you go first, and then you go last.
Thank you. This is a question for John. Our readers love a good love story, and I understand today is your 23rd wedding anniversary with Kelly.
Well, there's
two. So
there's
the 5th
2
and the
dates.
12th is the Florida
The
one.
Parisian date was the 5th of
Fifth.
September,
And
and
the
the
Florida
Daytona
date?
Beach, Florida date was the 13th.
The 13th.
Yeah.
So happy anniversary.
Thank you very much.
And my question is,
Thank you.
what do you think makes a long-lasting relationship, especially in Hollywood?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question.
Well, we are discussing dysfunctional families
But
here.
we are. So I would say children help. You know, you children are a big factor in motivating you to keep relationships going. But honestly, I think after the first few years of a relationship, if you don't create it, it's not going to exist. It doesn't happen on its own. I mean, you have to feed it, you have to fuel it. And if you just let it go as if by magic, it will disappear by magic. And that's my opinion. And I think people just give up rather quickly on relationships. I don't know why they do, but they do. You know, knock on something. You know, we haven't yet. So.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
We'll take one last question. Go ahead.
Yes, my question is actually, perhaps the director, Philip, you might be equipped to answer this. I was noticing how authentic looking the set was. You know, like these houses were not glamorous houses. They looked like very authentically like, okay, these people could be living in these houses, and it just looked like everyday reality. So I'm wondering, how was this made possible?
Well, we tried very hard to give the film a grit and a realism. We shot it in Boston, which is where it was scripted. And the DP, John Bailey, is a wonderful DP, and we just tried to make it look very real, because in some ways it's a human story, and it's a story about art and beauty and the power of the imagination. And it felt all of that needed to be grounded in a world that wasn't a Disney world, that was a real world, and so we worked hard to give it a tough look. Yeah.
But to pick up on this question, do you have a past as a director in documentaries?
Yes.
Did that help enormously?
It does. I mean, I always think that it helps me anyway. I don't know if it helps anybody else, but you know, when you come from the real world is often more interesting sometimes than or more unexpected or more surprising, and sometimes the things that you find out from the police or from I don't know, forgers or whatever, how little bits of human behavior, something will be useful and something will be surprising, and you're always trying to tell these stories in an unexpected way, and maybe to give just a little bit of to try to, you know, to tell the scene, to tell the story in a different way. And so definitely for me always reality is important, and I know for John too, you know, the painting, getting the painting right, getting all of that detail right is important, so that once you feel confident with that, then you can then add a layer, add your own storytelling on top of it.
Do you want to pick up on that, John?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you know, when I met with the forger in France, who's a very famous forger, but I said, how do you tell the difference between the authentic painting and the forged one? And he said, well, most people can't, because in his opinion, 50% of the masterpieces were forged. That's what his opinion was. And I said, can you tell the difference? He said, I can. I said, but I need to know why you can, because I have to play someone like you. He said, the frequency of the aesthetic is undeniable when you see the real thing. And he said, I know, because I'm trying to imitate it, that I can't absolutely imitate it, because that frequency is indescribable. He said, it solved my whole character. Right there and then he gave it to me on a silver plate. Because that scene where I'm sitting next to my son talking about Monet and what he's feeling and thinking at the time he's doing it. My character knows that he could never be Monet because he knows that frequency is not authentic that he's doing. He's only imitating it as best he can. And most people can't see the difference, but he can. And that's his gift. And so that's what I borrowed. That's a point of reality that was just extraordinary. And I totally agreed with it and understood it. There is a frequency to the one who creates the original. Do you know, that's very special.
John, I'll need this forger's phone number and email address. I'm afraid our time is up. Thank you very much for being here, and all the best for the film.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Pleasure.